Kendra with Trust TV, and I'm back with another video. I'm reading in the Chronicles of the Discoveries of the Conquest of Guinea by the author. Let me hurry up and get his name. His name is Gomez de Azores, if I'm saying that right. Right? Excuse me. I'm sorry I messed up and put myself in a... Okay, at least it put me back where I was, because before it did not. Okay, so we're in this book, all right? But before we start this book, we want y'all to understand a lot of these books have been rewritten. How you can tell they are rewritten, I say this in a lot of videos, a lot of these old books have been rewritten with a purpose in mind, okay? A purpose in mind. There's an agenda, all right, for these books. And one of the biggest agendas is to make black people think they came from Africa. I digress. Hold on. Now, in this book, which is supposed to be a book, the Chronicles of the Discovery of Conquest of Guinea, right? It's supposed to be in Africa, right? So here is a ebook of this, and it's called the Project of Gattenberg's ebook. Now, we're going to give you the definition of project. Why are we doing this? Because we are sharing this information so that we look at this book through the eyes of truth and not what is written based on what white people want us to believe, right? An individual. So what does project mean? They're telling you this book, which is titled The Chronicles of the Discovery of Conquest of Guinea by Gomez Enos de Azora. I ain't about to trying to say all that. Okay, and it's called the Project of Gattenberg. Well, the definition of project means an individual or collaborative enterprise that is carefully planned to achieve a particular aim, right? So a particular aim at trying to make us all African that are brown skin in America, even though there are many people who are great at explaining history, like Camario Ahu, Dan Calloway. A lot of these people are really great at explaining history. There are still people who believe because of lies that these books read. And people don't understand what to look for and how to navigate the lies of these books. So that's what we basically doing. Number one of the ways to navigate the lies of these books are word terminologies. Things that were not used, terms that were not used in certain time frames. For instance, Negro, color, and black was not coined until 1924 Racial Integrity Act as a nation of people, right? Prior to 1924, there were free people of color, free people, all these classifications that do not denote one's nationality, but automatically erases nationality when you group them together. So prior to that, you were either Portuguese, Spanish, European, American Indian, so forth and so on. If that makes sense, you are part of a nation. But when you start calling people colored, Negro, black, you erase these people's identity. Also, if you hear the term African American, that wasn't coined. You should not hear that in a book written prior to 1988. Because that term wasn't coined until 1988 by Jesse Jackson. So if there's any book that's prior to 1988 and it has African American in it, that book is rewrite and there's nothing but lies and conjectures in it. If you see the term Negro, color, or black prior to the 1924 Racial Integrity Act, meaning a people, that is also a rewrite with conjectures and lies. If you see any African books written prior to 1550 calling Africans Negroes, right? Because this book right now, that's from Gomez, Aurora, whatever you want to damn his name is, Azora. His book was written, or this chronicle was written in 1450. In 1450, nobody was called Negro in Africa. It was not until 15, and you could just Google it. I could Google it for you, whatever you want. They were not until 1550 were they called Negroes in Africa. Here, they say not until the 18th century. Negroes were widely used term for people of African descent in the United States, primarily from 18th century to mid 20th century, right? And so 18th century, we know that reclassifications came. Prior to that, nobody called. We're going to see where it originated. So that even more, okay? So the word Negro okay, is not here into the 18th century. So this proves without the shadow of a doubt that if the word Negro wasn't even there into the 18th century, there's no way they used it in the 1400s. So if you see it written in the 1400s, Negro, as a person's nation or nationality, it was a rewrite. So we're going to start in this book on page 7. And we're going to start at, I see those garments, whatever that is. Those Ethiopians, oh, these are our people, garamates. We can Google them real quick. All right, so these are the garamates, if I'm saying that right, were ancient peoples who may have descended from the Berber tribes, the Tubor tribes, or the Saharan Pestilites that settled in Fezzan region, right? So these Garamites were ancient peoples, all right? So this is a depiction of them, just to give reference. Garamites could have been Israelites, you know what I mean? Roman mosaic of entrance to the men bath in ruins of Timgal, Algeria. According to the Corbis image, it is titled the Negro Timgad. Other white sources title it Black Bath Attendant. Oh my God, is that his weenie? Okay, I didn't want to see that. That just messed my head up, to be honest. All right, so these are these black nations. I'm thinking he's pouring something from somewhere and just realized this nigga's naked, pouring and peeing, okay, with his weenie. Y'all sick, okay? Then nobody needs to see this. Anyway, so these are these black folk, okay? Lord. All right, so let's go back to the... All right, so these Garamates, those Ethiopians who live under the shadow of Mount Caucasus. Ethiopians that live under the shadow of Mount Caucasus, okay? Black in color. Because of living just opposite to the full height of the sun's rays. For he being in the head of the Capricorn, shineth on them with wondrous heat, as is shown by his movements from the century of his eccentric, or in another way, by the nearness of these people to the torrid zone. All right, so let's look up torrid zone. The AI gave us an overview, whatever this is. You know, these overviews are written by white folk. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. Image depict a segment of the Zelton mosaic, an ancient Roman mosaic dated back around the 2nd century AD, discovered in Zelton, Libya. Particular section portrays scenes of visual matches. We didn't need. You could have just gave us about this image. I guess the image is right there, actually. I didn't mean to do that. Those are the garments. I meant to just put torrid zone. Let's see what they give us. All right, see? The regions of the earth between the topic of Cancer and the topic of Capricorn. I don't know what any of that means. I'm going to keep it 100. Earth near the equator, making it the hottest areas of the planet. Oh, okay, nearing the equator. Okay. All regions nearing the equator. Okay. All right, so we got it. Let's go back into the book. Okay. And it's on them wondrous in heat and shown the movements from this century of blah, 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 blah. Nearest these people, the torrid zone. I see, okay, then he goes on to say, I see the Indians of the greater and the lesser India. Now, remember, they called America India Superior and Asia India Minor, which would be the lesser India, right? All alike in color. So he's letting you know these Garmates, or whatever they are, these Ethiopians, and people near the equator, these Indians of the superior and lesser India are alike in color. They're all brown skin. They're black, actually, because he said black in color. If you see that, black in color, right? all alike in color, who call upon me to write of their gifts of money and raiment, and of passing thy ships, and of thy hospitality, which those receive to either to visit the apostles or to see the beauty of the world, came to the ends of our Spain, right? So they're saying that these people, right, Ethiopia, he's letting you know that they are asked, they're called, who called upon me, him, which is supposed to be Gomez, Arorza, or whatever you say his damn name, passing, okay, writing about the gifts of these different lands, the money and the raiment, the money that they had, the raiment that they have, of the passing of thy ships, the passing of either their ships or the Portuguese people's ships, and of thy hospitality, okay, of how decent they are, how hospitable they are, which those receive to either visit the apostles. People would see once they go visit wherever these India Superior, Ethiopia, and the Garmate people, whoever, right? Or to see the beauty of the world, came to the ends of Spain. Okay, so I'm assuming that he's saying these people came to Spain, and those dwellers on the Nile, whose multitude possessed the lands of the ancient and vulnerable cities of Thebes. All right, so those people of the Nile, I guess, came to Spain as well. Those vulnerable to the city of the Thebes. They too astonish me, for I see them clothed in thy livery, and thy bodies that had never known a covering, now carrying robes of varied colors, and while the necks of their women are adorned with jewels of gold and silver and rich workmanship. But what has caused this save, oh gosh, efficiency of thine expenses, and the labors of thy servitors, set in the motion by thy beneficence, will by which thou hast transported to the ends of the east things created in the west. Yet not even the prayers and the cries of these people, though they were many, were of such price as the acclamation I heard from the greatness of the Germans, from the courtesy of the French, and from the valor of the English, and from the wisdom of the Italians, cries that were accompanied by others of diverse nations and language, that they must have captured, of other diverse nations and languages, all renowned by lineage and virtue. O thou sayest these who enterest the labyrinth of such great glory, why dost thou busy thyself only with the nations of the East? Okay, speak to us, for we traverse the lands encircle the circumference of the earth, and known the courts of prince and the houses of great lords. Okay, known that thou wilt not find another that can equal the excellencies of the fame of this man, if thou judgest by a just weight of all that pertains to a great prince. With reason mayest thou call his temple of all virtue. But now plaintive do I find people of our nation, because I place. But how plaintive do I find the people of our nation, because I place the testimonies of some other races before theirs. For here in Portugal, now he's talking about Portugal, because he was talking about other nations and their greatness, but he comes back to now talking about Portugal and what's in Portugal. Here in Portugal, I met with great lords, prelates, nobles, widowed ladies, knights of the orders of chivalry, masters and doctors of holy faith, with many graduates of every science, young scholars, companies of esquires, and men of noble breeding, with merchants and untold multitudes of people. And some of these shown me towns and castles, other villages and fields, others riches, benefices, others great and wealth farms, others country houses, estates, and liberties, other charters for pensions and marriage, other gold and silver, money and cloth, others health in their bodies, and deliverance from perils, which they have gained by means of thee, other countless servants, both male and female. by others there are that while others there are that tell me of monasteries and churches that thou didst repair and rebuild. Remember, because Jerusalem was trodden down by the Gentiles. Repair and rebuild of great and rich ornaments. Remember the Spanish Inquisition. And what we may think have happened in one set time may have been in more recent times of Jerusalem being trodden down by the Gentile could have very well just been the Spanish Inquisition. I'm just saying, keep that in mind when we're talking about the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And some great and rich ornaments that thou didst offer in many holy places. Okay? Holy places. Others again point out to me the marks of the chains they bore in captivity. Again, in Spanish, he's talking about Portugal. We know the Spanish Inquisition happened in Portugal and Spain, where they shipped the Portuguese and Spanish to Africa, and then from Africa to the New World. Just to give you context. Bore in the captivity from which thou didst rescue them. What shall I say of the needy beggars that I see before me, laden with alms, and of the great multitude of friars of every order that shows me the garments with which thou didst clothe their bodies, and the abundance of food with which thou didst satisfy their necessities? I had already made an end of this chapter, had I not described the approach of the multitude of ships with tall sails laden from the islands thou didst people in the great ocean sea. Thou didst people in the great ocean sea, which called on me to wait for them, as they longed to prove that they ought not be omitted from the register. And they displayed before me their great castle stalls, and the valleys full of sugar cane, from which they carried store to distribute throughout the world. Now, I did look up where sugar cane was originated. And sugar cane was originated in Guinea, like Papua New Guinea. Okay? So let's see. Origin. I'm going to look it up and come back. Now, they say the originated in New Guinea, right? In New Guinea. That is where, and it's so crazy because this word Guinea is also allegedly in Africa, right? Right? So how do we know that the people that they brung were from Africa and not New Guinea? Oceania, the Australians. Look at this, New Guinea. This is where sugarcane originated. I'm just saying, how do we know that when they're speaking, they're talking about Africa? Because these names were similar. I'm just saying. Well, we can try to find out when New Guinea got in service. So now my service is being funny because when you start looking up the truth, the service start getting messed with. I'm dead ass. Any other time, my service is perfect. 5G everything. But when I start researching, baby, this service start acting a whole hot mess. But anyway, let's go on. I digress. Displaced before me their great castles, stalls, blah, blah, blah. That's where valleys full of sugarcane. Now, again, sugarcane was found, you can just Google it yourself, in New Guinea, is where they said it originated, in like Oceania, from which they carried, stored, distributed throughout the world. Okay, so they distribute this sugarcane throughout the world. So everywhere this sugarcane is now, because these people from New Guinea, right, wind up transporting it everywhere throughout the world. But he's talking about these people that are in Portugal right now, right? Okay, from rich carry okay, they brought also a witness to their great prosperity, all the dwellers in the kingdom of Algarve. Now, Algarve is in Portugal, but again, this is a Portuguese man telling us about. You can just look it up because right now it's not going to show nothing. See, all out of nowhere, now the site can't be reached, right? Make that make sense. Algarve is in Portugal, though. Ask, said they, whether these people ever knew that it was to have abundance of bread until the prince peopled the uninhabited isles, where no dwelling existed save that the wild beasts. Next they showed me great rows of beehives full of swarms of bees, from which great cargoes of wax and honey are carried to our realm. And besides these, lofty houses towering to the sky. All right, so they're talking about big skyscraper buildings during this time. Mind you, this book is written in the 1400s. So who told you skyscrapers just came around in recent years is a liar? This proves it right here. Okay, this proves it right here. This man said buildings, okay, towers, okay, besides these lofty houses towering to the sky, houses towering to the sky, which have been and are being built with wood from those parts. But why should I mention the multitude of these things that were told me in thy praise, though all of them were things that I could write without injuring the truth? Let me tell you how there now sounded in my ears some other voices. So did he experience this, or was he told this? Because he's talking about in his ears. Let me tell you how there now sounded in my ears some other voices, very contrary to these that I have recounted hitherto. Voices for which I should have felt great compassion, had I not discovered them to be the cries of those outside our law. For there addressed me countless souls of Moors. Now I would show you Moors, and Moors, how American Indians were also considered Moors, but I know that right now the internet is acting as if, the name New Guinea was coined by WHYTE whoever, Spanish explorer, in 1545. He applied the name after noted similarities between the indigenous people of the Isles and the inhabitants of Guinea Coast in West Africa. That's why he called it Guinea, is what they're saying. It took them all that time to create that. So I want y'all to understand, anytime the internet starts pausing, there's our underwriter who is going in to fix all this up to make this make sense. I digress. I'm dead ass, because I only have time when they need to create something. But if I instantly look for this information, listen, it'd be some mess coming with the internet. Nevertheless, excuse me, this proved what I said when I said that just because somebody have brown skin don't mean they're African. They can look of the sort and not be, like the people of Papua New Guinea. All right, so I'm going to do a few things, right? So this is, Madrid is Spain, right? I had to look up where Madrid was, the capital of Spain. Madrid, Spain's central capital. And remember how he's talking about those buildings? Look at these buildings that's in Spain. These are buildings created by the Moors. How do we know? Well, we're going to go and show you. This is an article. I'm afraid to click on it because I didn't think it would load. Okay, so Madrid buries old Moorish landmarks, right? Moored August 26. The final steps to modernize Madrid have wiped out the trace of the old Moorish city. The Moors first built Madrid as a watchtower overlooking the plains of castles, from which they could watch the approach of their Christian enemies. In those days, it was a small fortified outpost for warriors and cultivators who sought refuge from surrounding farms and occupied grounds on which the royal palace now stands. The Moors called the city Margaret, I don't know. The last vestige of their rule has just surrendered to the progress. Now, they tell you that it was small and farm. That's bullshit, because you're telling them that they built Madrid watchtowers. Watchtowers would never be small. And in the castles that were there, plains of anyway. Okay? And you see all those lands. Moors, all right? Moors were Indians. People also call Indians Moors. that the Negroes had red flags. Okay, informed. Okay, let's see what they're saying. In the evening, of deputation of chiefs went into a fort and demanded its surrender, but they were abused and treated with the utmost contempt. The black chief heaped much abuse of the Americans and said he had been left in command of the fort by the British government, and that he would sink any American vessels that should attempt to pass it, and would blow up the fort if he could not defend it. The chief also informed me that the Negro had a red flag and the English Jacks was flying over it. All right, Morocco. The question must be answered is were these people former slave? Was their purpose to flying the two flags? They were flying. Slaves do not have flags. Slaves do not have flags. A flag represents nation. What nation did they represent? Exactly. All right, let's go Moorish. We're going to look more for the Moors. So, again, they're talking about Moors in this book. So we're going to see this article that was allegedly this person put in 1621, the word Indian was substituted for Moorish. All right, so Moorish American. What kind of people live in South America? The Spanish, the Portuguese, but chiefly the descendants of these European races who have intermarried with the Indians. Other nations have made lesser contribution. Brazil, right, which is only a few days by steamer from West Africa. So what they're trying to insinuate is that there's Africans brought to Brazil. You know, they always try to put that African shit in there. And 1/3 Negro. And how were you able to back then technology wasn't even good, and it's not even that great now, and can't tell you whether you're 1% or 2%. That's just retarded. You can't break up these. First and foremost, there are a melting pot of different tribes all throughout Africa. So how would you be able? Negro is not even a nation. What the hell is a Negro? Ethiopians aren't the same as Somalians. Somalians aren't the same as Sudanese. Though they belong of the same family and lineage, they do have different genetic makeup. You understand me? The Nigerians aren't the same as the Kenyans. Oh, they may be. They may be just different. They're different branches, but the Ethiopians and the Nigerians are not of the same. They got different genetic makeups, despite being within the country or the continent of Africa, if that makes sense, right? So which is the only few. So where are you getting this? You're narrowing everything to a Negro, which makes no sense, because what kind of Negro? Were they a Papua New Guinean Negro? Were they American, French, Spanish, European Negro? Like what kind of, because black is black. What kind of black were they? Because from the book of Mankind from Benjamin Franklin lets you know there were various blacks. There were various Negro groups, right? There were some in Africa that were black, Asia, America, exclusive of the newcomers, which were the Anglo-Saxons, had black folk in it. French, Sweden, Germans, all these nations were black and had so-called black people in them. So what kind of black are we talking about, right? So let me go on. I digress. Other nations which have made lesser contribution in Brazil, which is only a few days by the streamer, and 1/3 Negro, whatever that means. The crudest type of Negro on the American hemisphere. There is a strong mark of the Moor upon the Spaniards. Okay, so Negroes could even be considered Spaniards. The Arabic Moor root his customs very deeply into the life of Spain. The people of Mexico and Cuba might be called Moorish American rather than Latin Americans. The customs, manners, and heart experienced in these people of Latin America are more Moorish than Christians, more Muslim, more Arabic than Spanish. Okay? Okay, let's get some more Moors. All right, so this is another little written article marked by people who wrote it. And it says 25 facts about the Aboriginal Moorish Americans by Johnny Aborigine. All European explorers describe the Indian or Aboriginal American tribes as entire Atlantic coast, Gulf Coast, Pacific Coast, Brazil, Caribbean as Negro, Black, Moor, or Ethiopian Mongoloid. They never did Mongoloid. Plains natives only lived in the northwest southern America. Mongoloid Plains people never came in contact with European explorers. Exactly. So this shit lets you know, because they would have said it. So if you have Native Americans who look up the Mongol sort, well, how come nobody other than the Eskimos were talked about? Or Aboriginal American tribes who phenotype, skin complexion were described as Negro Black, had their identity changed. Okay, that's just, the guy stating what I be stating, right? Basically. This is just a little book cover, I'm assuming. I tried to give other articles and stuff, but baby, I had a hard time, and I'm tired. I didn't feel like searching too much. But this is Moors in America. The word Moor comes from the Latin word mores and the Greek adjective moros, meaning dark or black, right? Denoting to skin color, so they say, right? Oxford English Dictionary, right? The term Moor is also used as a transitive verb, to moor a ship, right? The word admiral comes from the Arabic word ameri, meaning commander, Moorish navigator. The rudder and sextant, second revision, March 1st, 1989. The root Amir, or Amir, meaning America. Okay. Head of an Olmec deity, reproduced in America Museum at the Natural History of New York. Original weight, about 5 tons. American means the native of American. Originally applied to Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but not applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Oh, they changed that, because it said. And then it says now applying, but it says here, but not applied to the descendants. So maybe somebody took the not out. Lord. Descendants of Europeans born in America. It says, but not applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Noah Webster's original 1828. A dictionary of American Dictionary, English language. The term American, I hope I'm saying that etymologically, I cannot say words right now, is commander loves riches. Emir, commander, Arab word, Amar, love, French word, rica, rich, Spanish word, rica. The monastic brotherhood, Catholic Moors from Morocco, land of present-day Connecticut, North America, near the coast of Long Island Sound. The inscriptions found in granite outcrops in I cannot say that, I don't know how to say that, and I'm about to say some craziness. Forest, whatever, if you could see that, somebody, forest, and CN, whatever that is, I don't know right now. And the inscription of I don't know how to say that either. A rock located in Figure toward the east of Sahara, each due somebody. I don't know, September 16, 1995 for the information contact. Anyway, you guys can see. See that. They called American Indians Moors as well. I just wanted the Gold Coast New Negroes. Now, I just wanted to show you, as they say, the Gold Coast, right? The depiction. Just important for the West Indies. Just imported from the West Indies. Okay? Consisting of 8, because the F's and S look the same, consisting of 8 about 8 stout men and 2 women to prevent their receiving the infection of the smallpox. They have been kept constantly on board the vessel since they arrived, where they will be sold. Any person inclining to purchase them at private sale may apply to Miffer, Johnson, and Willie, I'm assuming. Run away from the subscriber Negro man named Frank. And again, why is he in American Indian attire if he's from the Gold Coast? Isn't that Africa? See how this stuff contradicts what they say? This don't make sense. These articles have to be fake, because it don't make sense for you to show an Indian and then call these people African. Make it make sense, y'all. Let's make it make sense. I don't know. Arthur L. Moore. These are his cigars. Got the Indians. Let's see. Moreland, Richmond, Virginia was this American Indian statue. Again, they call American Indians Moors. Moors is represented as a muscular, loose, swagger stride. He carved, Negro, clearly meant to be that of a Negro. Feathered crown, typically generally associated with the romantic images of the American Indians. The Moors' dark brown skin is covered on arms, legs, and body. Okay, so that is a Moor as well. American Indian. It's a lot to find this stuff. Or more black. I don't know what people ask the questions. And then they give little things. These Muslim, Morocco. It was alleged that Morocco, and it's from the Louisiana Purchase map that shows Morocco being in America, because they have Abraham Lincoln writing a letter to the Moroccan government. Which, why would he be writing to the Moroccan government if that was being mailed in America? Make that make sense. So that would make sense how Morocco would have at one point been in the Americas, based on the Louisiana Purchase map. We could show that in another video, but we want to go Blackamoors. That's where I got it from, the Blackamoors. Blue gum Blackamoor has encountered with them. Macoon policemen, Negro teeth do ugly work. Constitute the Bureau Force 57 2nd Street. Right. I don't know what that says. Something in. Intensely from ugly wounds made by the Negro tears up his right arm, the limb into which the blue gum Negro sunk his molars with all force and strength. His iron jaws could lend portmanteau patrolman T. X, Chambliss, one of the best members of the police department, has just been removed from the city hospital to his home by Bob Matthews. Also, this Moorish man, he bit his ass. Moors revolt in the Philippines. Dutch trades report to have been slain in American possession, and it feared that serious revolts will follow. Moors revolt in Philippines. They're talking about in Philadelphia, Philippines. Dutch traders reported to have been slain in America, in American possession, and it is feared that serious revolts have followed. The thing I don't like about these articles is they're not dated. Seattle, Washington, June 20. Oh, see. Well, it doesn't tell the year. Seattle, Washington, 23rd, and then there's the line. Special A report has been brought here by the Japanese steamer Taba that Moors have revolted in the Philippines. and the Dutch traders have been massacred. Serious outbreak are feared. So they called anything Moors meant black, for real, for real. More school betters. Okay, so there we go. Moroccan prince jailed in Toledo. Moorish Holy Temple. Science who schedule a rifle. Anyway, y'all can go check those articles out. I was just trying to get to the point that a lot of people are called Moors. But anyway, this is long. So guys, stay up, stay blessed. Like, share, and subscribe if you made it this far. Put that thumbs up and say we made it this far. Okay, this is Kendra with True TV. Peace out. Bye.